having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, let's jump right into something that's really got people talking.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry's new film, Straw, A Mother's Desperation, on Netflix.
Exactly. Dropped June 6th. And it seems like it's hitting a nerve.
Yeah.
You know, super intense, great lead performance everyone's buzzing about.
Definitely. And for this deep dive, we've gathered a bunch of reviews, reports, reactions, kind of everything.
Trying to get the full picture.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is really to sift through it all and give you a clear sense of it. What's the story? What was Perry trying to do?
How is it landing?
Right. Why does it work for some folks and maybe not so much for others?
So basically, a quick, thorough rundown of the whole conversation around Straw.
Let's unpack it.
All right.
So first up, it's classic Tyler Perry in terms of involvement. Directed, written, produced, all him.
And runtime.
About 108 minutes. And the sources we looked at, they make it pretty clear what his intention was.
It was.
To really shine a light on systemic neglect. And also to highlight the resilience of Black women under immense pressure. Okay, and that sounds like it feeds directly into the main character.
Absolutely. Janiyah Wilkinson, played by Taraji P. Henson.
And her performance sounds like it's key.
Oh, totally. She's the engine, like you said earlier. She plays this single Black mother, and her situation just spirals. Ends up in this intense bank standoff.
So what's her initial situation? How bad is it?
It starts really grim.
Yeah.
Like eviction threats looming.
Okay.
She hasn't gotten her paycheck. And her daughter, Aria, is very sick.
Wow, that's a lot hitting at once.
And it just gets worse, fast. Her boss won't release the check she's earned. The landlord actually evicts her. And then the absolute breaking point, her daughter has a really severe seizure.
Oh, man, so that's what pushes her.
That seems to be the catalyst. This desperation just boils over. The sources talk about this violent moment at a grocery store.
What happened?
She gets involved in a robbery, 2 guys. And in the middle of it all, she kills one of them.
Oh.
Yeah, she grabs her check finally and just runs.
So she's got the check, but she's obviously in a terrible state.
Right. Her only thought is get to a bank, cash it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it doesn't go smoothly.
Let me guess, they won't cash it.
Bingo. No ID. And in that moment, totally overwhelmed, she pulls a gun.
Not planned, just desperation.
Exactly. And suddenly, boom, hostage situation.
Inside the bank.
Yeah. And you've got other characters trying to handle it. The bank manager, Nicole, that's Sherry Shepard.
Okay.
And Detective Kay Raymond, played by Tiana Taylor. They're trying to de-escalate.
All right, so we have the setup. But
Yeah.
you mentioned something interesting.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The sources point to this massive tragic twist that changes everything.
Okay.
As this standoff is happening, nobody realizes it. Not the cops, not Nicole, not even Janiyah herself, really.
Well,
She's been hallucinating her daughter, Aria.
Wait, hallucinating?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Aria actually died from that seizure the night before the bank incident.
Oh, my God. That's devastating.
It comes late in the film, apparently.
Yeah.
And it just flips the whole narrative. Suddenly, it's deep psychological territory.
Makes you rethink everything you've seen.
Completely. And this psychological angle, it extends right to the climax.
How so?
Well, there's what seems like a big tear gas breach, maybe a shooting.
Right. Standard dramatic ending.
Except it's not real. According to the sources, that's part of Janiyah's hallucination, her breakdown.
So what actually happens?
In reality,
Yeah.
she surrenders peacefully. Nicole and Detective Raymond are there, supporting her, and there's this crowd outside chanting for her.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot different.
Very different. Now, if there's one thing that comes through It's loud and clear from all the sources.
Let me guess. Performances.
Absolutely. They anchor the whole thing.
And Taraji P. Henson specifically.
Oh, universally praised. People aren't just saying she's good. They're saying she elevates the material.
Makes it better than it might have been otherwise.
Exactly. Her portrayal of that despair, the trauma, it's called the absolute heart of the film's impact.
And audiences felt that too.
Definitely. We saw comments, people saying things like, a movie touched me this hard. It clearly resonated deeply.
What are critics saying about her?
Glowing terms, things like, she rises above the film, an acting masterclass.
Wow.
Yeah, some call her one of the greatest actresses of her generation. Seriously talking awards buzz for this role.
So a must-see performance, basically.
Sounds like it. But she's not the only one getting praise.
Right. Sherry Shepard as Nicole, the manager.
Yeah, sources say she brings this really crucial warmth and empathy. She's like the bridge between, society and Janaya's crisis.
Grounding the story a bit.
Exactly. And reinforcing that theme of women supporting each other.
And Teyana Taylor as the detective.
Also gets good marks. Portrayed as empathetic, she's a single mother too, so she kind of gets it.
Ah, okay.
Reviewers call her performance grounded, sincere, and her character's empathy sort of humanizes the police role there. It's not just authority bearing down.
Interesting counterweight. So beyond the acting, there's clearly a lot of commentary Perry's trying to weave in.
For sure. The sources highlight several layers.
Like what?
Well, the big one is economic hardship and systemic neglect.
Right, the unpaid check, the eviction.
Exactly. Reviewers point out this isn't just random bad luck. It's tied to how systems fail working class people, especially, under-resourced folks.
Feels very real, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then there's the Black maternal trauma element.
Which feels central given the twist.
Absolutely. It's not just grief. It's grief within that context of the strong Black woman trope.
The pressure to just, endure.
Right. The sources suggest that the film critiques that, showing the cost of silence pain when you're expected to be invincible, even when everything's failing you.
And the mental health aspect, the dissociation.
That's explicit too. The hallucination of Uriah, the distorted ending, it gives you a really visceral window into that kind of trauma response.
So it becomes a journey into her psychological state.
Very much so. Perry really leans into her deterioration. It's not just melodrama. It's about mental collapse.
And you mentioned female solidarity earlier.
Yeah, that bond between Jania, Nicole, and Detective Raymond, it feels pretty pivotal.
Suggesting that real help comes from
empathy. Understanding between individuals, maybe more than from institutions.
Okay, so those are some powerful themes. But looking across the sources, it's not all praise, right? There's a balance.
Definitely. There are clear strengths people point to, but also some significant weaknesses, according to me.
Strengths first. Got to be Henson's performance again, right?
Top of the list, consistently.
What else worked well for people?
The emotional stakes. That feeling of being trapped, pushed too far. It clearly hit hard for a lot of viewers.
We saw those intense social media reactions.
Yeah, every scene just traumatized me. It speaks to that raw power.
And the moral core.
People felt that too. The message about empathy, humanity. It felt earnest. Reviewers said it was rooted in something real.
Especially the community support at the end.
Right. That moment seems to land Perry's moral point effectively.
Okay, but then the weaknesses. What were the main criticisms?
A big one, often tied to Perry's style, is heavy-handedness.
Melodrama.
Yeah. Some felt the constant piling on of crises felt, a bit much. Contrived, maybe. Overload.
And connected to that, the plot itself.
Criticisms about unrealistic escalations.
Yeah.
Does everything really have to go wrong this badly, this quickly?
Plausibility stretched a bit thin.
For some, definitely. Specific moments, like something about a mistaken bomb, were called out as absurd.
Dialogue, plot twists. Some critics found them lacking realism.
Okay. And what about the systemic critique? Does it go deep enough? That's another point of debate. The film points to big issues, poverty, healthcare failures.
Right.
But some argue it doesn't really dig into the why. It evokes the feeling, the pain, but maybe stops short of a deeper analysis of the systems themselves.
More feeling than analysis.
Kind of, yeah. That's the critique.
So how did this all shake out in the reception, critics versus audiences?
It's pretty split, which is fascinating. Critics generally mixed, leaning negative.
Like on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, the score reflects that. They often praise Henson, but fault the overall execution, the script, the melodrama.
Any specific critic demographics stand out?
Some noted that female critics, while loving Henson, were sometimes harsher on what they saw as Perry's narrative oversimplifications.
Interesting. But the audience?
Much more positive. The Rotten Tomatoes audience score is way up there, like 80% popcorn meter.
So viewers are connecting differently.
Seems like it. Online comments echo that, praising Henson, calling for awards, really feeling the emotional journey. It highlights that gap between critical analysis and audience connection sometimes.
So if someone watched Straw and it resonated, what else might they like? Did the sources mention similar films?
Yeah, a few comparisons came up. Another Perry film, Acrimony, for its intensity.
Okay.
Fractured, maybe, for the psychological thriller hallucination angle.
Any sense?
Dog Day Afternoon, or Breaking for the Desperate Bank Standoff vibe. And Emily the Criminal, for that theme of economic desperation leading to crime.
Good comparisons. So putting it all together from this deep dive, what's the overall takeaway on Straw?
It feels like it's maybe best understood not as a perfect thriller, but as a vehicle for really raw emotion.
Driven almost entirely by Henson.
Yeah, her performance is the undeniable anchor. It seems like Perry is leaning into his strengths. Empathy, character drama, a moral message.
But maybe leans too hard?
For some, yeah. Relying on those melodramatic shortcuts instead of maybe building more nuance or texture.
So what works? Henson, the emotional core, the themes, neglect, grief, mental health, solidarity.
Right. And those key relationships. Janiyah, Nicole, Raymond.
What falters? Pacing, realism strained by too many crises, plot twists that feel unrealistic to some, and maybe the systemic critique lacking depth.
That sums up the balance we saw in the sources pretty well.
So for you listening, if you're looking for that intense, raw emotional experience focusing on maternal pain and systemic failure,
Straw likely delivers that, and Henson's performance alone, based on the reviews, makes it worth checking out just for the acting masterclass.
if you want subtlety, nuanced storytelling, deep policy dive,
Maybe adjust expectations. The sources suggest it takes a much more dramatic, high-impact approach than an analytical one.
it's helpful seeing how sources might rate elements differently, right? Like acting, 5 stars, realism, maybe 2 stars.
Exactly. That kind of disparity really tells you what the film prioritizes.
And ultimately, the film's power seems to lie in those moments focused on Janiyah's inner world.
Yeah, when it lets Henson just be in that space. It trades subtlety for impact. It's bold, it's a cry for empathy, and according to many, parts of it really stick with you.
So a final thought for you to chew on.
Consider how films like this, using intense personal drama to tackle huge societal problems, neglect, mental health, shape our understanding. How does that compare to, say, a documentary?
Yeah, what happens to empathy when a film goes for that raw emotional hit, maybe at the expense of strict realism? Something to think about.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.